can see, I have the JDM K24a right here, and we are literally almost ready to swap this thing, guys. I just have this valve adjustment left, and I need to mount the tranny onto the back of the casing. Here's the trans. You guys can see I got it on this little dolly, so this thing rolls. There it is, trans. Just gotta wait for my clutch to get here, do the valve adjustment. I got a new valve cover I'm gonna put on, and we're gonna Honda bond the corners once all the valve specs are done. So for starters, don't mind all my blue tape. It's like my 101 notes. And some tools you're going to need, obviously you're gonna need a regular size ratchet, 10mm socket, bigger ratchet or breaker bar, 19mm for the crank. You're gonna have your feeler gauges. For the K24, I'm doing 9 and 11, so I'm going to do 9 for the intake and 11 for the exhaust side. You see our tuba Honda bond for the valve cover. Here's the valve cover gasket, brand new. We have our special tool, guys. This is a lifesaver, this thing. It's literally an integrated flathead screwdriver into a tightening lever right here. And then, of course, our nice little impact. Yeah, torque wrench too, because we're gonna have to torque the locking nuts. We're gonna want to take this ignition, this coil pack cover off, your spark plug cover here, all these little 10mm. This thing is already TDC. Everything's TDC. The crank's marked right there. So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna do a rotation just cause, but usually when it's TDC, so before I adjust anything here, you could come here and you could see the marks are TDC. Crank is still TDC. So now we're good to adjust the #1 cylinder right here. So like I said, I'm using, there's all different specs to this, guys. You could use whatever you prefer, but they range from my understanding and my research. I did my K20 at 0.009, and then I did 0.012 for my K20. Now my valves, I like my valves a little bit loose because I feel like over time they're just gonna get tight. You don't want to go too tight. I know a lot of people recommend 8 and 10 or whatever. That's what I've seen on forums and stuff. But for me personally, yeah, it's gonna be a quieter valve train, but like I would sleep better at night knowing that, they're not too tight, but I also don't want too loose. So this is all for your preference, guys. I can't tell you what to choose for a spec because they vary. So they range from 8 to 10 on the intake side, and for the exhaust, I think it's 10 to 12. Don't quote me on it. So I'm staying in the middle, obviously. So before I go crack anything up, I'm gonna insert this in the valve. Try this one here. Yeah, that's way too tight, guys. I have to literally force it, like force it in there, and there is drag, but it's not to where it drops because it's loose. If you're unsure that the piston is all the way up, guys, you could take an extension, carefully just place it down into the chamber, and you'll feel the piston. And you could look down there and you could see the piston top if your pistons are clean. But that's about normal, guys. So the piston's at the top. We're doing #1 right now. All right, guys, so like I said, there's no way for me to tell you what the exact feel is, but all I know is you want to have a little bit of drag coming out, not too much. So essentially, one is way too tight, guys. Like I can't even fit my feeler gauge into the thing. That's probably, well, you know what? It's probably at an 8 right now, but I don't know if I should leave it. but that's way, I have to force it to go in. So you know what? We're gonna undo it. We're gonna crack it. So we're gonna put our tool on the top here. I put some oil on the nut before I crack them and stuff, just so it's not like, it's like cracking like a head stud or a head bolt. You want to make sure it's kind of lubricated before you're in there messing with it. So what we'll do is lock the nut down, keep our screwdriver locked, and go left counterclockwise. Okay. All right, so the nut is free. I'm gonna just go left. I could feel it back. I could feel it back out. That honestly feels good right there. All right, so honestly, that right there, that it might even be a little too tight. Let's go a little bit more counterclockwise. Honestly, guys, that right there, that feels good. So what we'll do is we'll leave the feeler in there, make sure your screwdriver's lined up, and tighten the locking nut. So we'll pull the feeler out. Let's see if it goes back in. All right, there we go, guys. A little bit of drag. I don't have to put too much pressure on it when I insert it, and it moves freely back and forth. So, and this one honestly feels the exact same, guys. Literally the same. All right, guys, so basically what we need to do now is, once you have that perfect feel, we're going to take our torque wrench, 14 foot-pound for the little 10 mils on the top here. Make sure you lubricate the top of the nut so that's tight. And that's tight. Just check, make sure your gauge, your feeler didn't move at all, really. All right, one's too loose and one is freaking tight. So let's work on this, let's work on one of these first. Torque the back ones down to, I believe it's 10, guys. I'm just gonna do 10. Okay, there's that. And you guys can see the drag here. So, like I said, I like to hold my fingers on each side of the feeler. And it's not loose to the point where it'll just fall back out, like whoosh. So, you could also go side to side. There is drag, but it's normal. And then check this one right here again. Go to cylinder number 3, which is right here. So the firing order is 1, 3, 4, and then 2 is the last one. So we're gonna go to number 3. Literally do the same thing, do the same thing to number 4, same thing to number 2. So now what we need to do, I took the cylinder, the spark plug out of cylinder number 3. Looking down there, it is hard to see that, but see the top of the pistons right there? You can see we're still at TDC right now, and what we need to do is essentially rotate the crank at cylinder number 1, still TDC. We need to rotate it so that the cam basically gets 90 degrees. So we want this little dot here, and then we want the line up at, we want the line at the top and this little dot here, and our extension in the spark plug chamber to see when the piston gets all the way to the top. So let's go ahead and get this moving here. You can see it's moving up. I'm gonna go until that stops. And you'll see that cylinder number 3 is raising. You'll be able to tell these seem pretty loose, honestly. So essentially what you're gonna do is you're gonna do cylinder number 3, rotate the cams, 90 degrees. We're working on the last cylinder, cylinder number 2. So we got to get that mark 90 degrees, which will be up at the top. And then I have my my extension in there. So let's get this done. So now I basically need to spray brake clean on a rag. I'm going to wipe down the mating surface here.